In this video, I'm going to teach you the exact steps I would take to learn game development from scratch in 2023. Although game development is one of the most alluring aspects of computer programming, it is also among the hardest you can pick from. As such, a lot of people don't know where to start and simply give up. In this video, I'm going to give you a path to follow that I believe will ensure that you are able to make your very own video games within the year. Some of you who have not seen my videos before might wonder why I would be qualified to teach you such things. My name is Linus. I am a completely self-taught programmer and I work full-time as a Unity developer and I do freelance game development. It took me over a decade of trial and error to get to the point I am now. And I don't want you to repeat the mistakes that I have done. That would simply be a waste of time. So we are going to go through step by step what I believe you should be doing to ensure that you can make your own video games by the end of the year. There are a few presuppositions I'm making in this video. I am assuming that you want to learn how to make video games via programming. There are plenty of solutions out there to make video games without learning how to program, but I'm making the assumption that you want to take this further than a hobby. I'm assuming that you want to pursue this as your future career. As such, I'm not going to be recommending any sort of visual scripting tools. Although I do believe that they are useful, the path I'm going to give you is for a professional game developer and programmer to give you the most opportunities to get a job within the industry. Step number 1 is going to be picking a game engine. Although you will be able to make video games without a game engine, this is simply not feasible for a complete beginner. And I think that learning programming in its raw state is going to be a lot more fun if you do it through some sort of software. When I made this path, I only took 3 game engines into consideration: Unreal Engine, Godot, and Unity. Although Unreal and Godot are powerful pieces of software, I do not recommend them for beginners. I will tell you this once and only once: pick Unity. Although Unity carries somewhat of a reputation, if you want to make video games as quickly as possible, whilst giving yourself largest chances possible of getting a programming job, Unity is the only choice for you. Unreal Engine is extremely powerful, but all of the learning materials and easy to access documentation out there on the web heavily relies on their blueprints system. As such, I do not believe it's the best place for a beginner to start. At the same time, Godot, although it is a great piece of software, doesn't have the vast amount of pre-existing materials that Unity has. It is something that you can definitely pursue later on in your journey, but Unity will be the starting point for your journey. It comes with a great deal of benefits. There are an immeasurable amount of tutorials and courses created for Unity already, many of great quality, and this will give you an amazing kickstart on your journey. Unity also relies on the C# programming language, which is widely used outside of game development. So if game development doesn't pan out, you will have at least learned an extremely popular and modern programming language. This will teach you the basics of object-oriented programming, which can be of use if you were to transition into something like a custom C++ game engine or Unreal Engine and start coding without the built-in blueprint system. Now that we've picked a game engine, how are we going to start learning? Whenever I start learning a completely new programming language, I like to consume an abnormal amount of tutorials and courses. And this has one simple reason. I front load all of my tutorial consumption in the beginning. The biggest hurdle I find myself confronting is not knowing what I don't know. That is a confusing sentence, but it's quite obvious. I can't search out something or try and learn something when I don't know I need to learn it. So to consume a large amount of tutorials and courses will ensure that you have a general knowledge of all of the available features and things that you might need to learn. If you don't know what a raycast is, how will you ever be able to think of solutions using this incredibly powerful piece of technology within Unity? So I would pick a few courses from websites like Udemy, which have powerful and long courses that will take you through the process of creating full games And this ensures that you have a breadth of knowledge concerning the development pipeline of a Unity game. I would also begin just watching tutorials, not even following along. This is a bit counterintuitive to some of my previous advice in my other videos, but this is simply so that you can learn what's possible. You don't have to understand it all. You don't even have to understand any of it. You just have to consume all of the keywords, knowledge, and see examples of what's possible. This will help quite a lot in motivating you to continue learning as well. Then we're going to focus on the less Unity specific stuff. You need to learn C#. This is one of the most vital parts to ensure that you can pursue this outside of a hobby. Programming languages are hard to get into, famously hard, but it's not as daunting as it might seem. Once you get the hang of one, you basically know them all. So the very first thing I would recommend you doing is buying a book on C#. Although buying books may seem quite odd to you, a book is extremely valuable in these starting phases of learning. You know that whatever information is contained within that book will be relevant to other information within the book. Programming languages and software tend to be updated all the time, and some piece of knowledge from 2 years ago may be incorrect now, and you might not know that. But within a book, you know that whatever is written on page 15 will be relevant on page 115 because they were written and released at the same time. This gives you a contained time frame where you can consume a lot of knowledge that will be relevant to each other. Although it might be a bit old and needs to be updated, you can still learn a heck of a lot. Programming languages haven't changed in decades. So even if what you're learning is slightly out of date, it's going to be invaluable if it gets you learning in the beginning. Now that you've gotten your book and you've watched your tutorials, the boring part comes. You're still learning something new with aspirations of a career, which is gonna take time. It took me a decade, which is way too long, and you will not have to wait that long most likely. At this point, I feel that many of you might even consider pursuing an education in game development. Although I have done something similar in the past, I would not entirely recommend it. But for some people who prefer an organized education, this is reasonable. But be careful and do a lot of research into whatever education you're picking. There are a lot of amazing game development schools, but there are also a lot of bad ones. Game development education is an incredibly profitable business. A lot of people want to make video games. So just be careful. There's a lot of scams. There's a lot of false promises. Getting a job in game development will be extremely difficult, nigh impossible. So you need to temper your expectations and just get to making video games. And although this isn't fun, you're gonna have to start small. This is repeated on and on again, and it's what everybody recommends, but it's for good reason. Making a game that's your dream game that you've thought of since childhood will not pan out. You have one book on C# and you've watched a Udemy tutorial. You will not be able to make your very own Pokemon clone within 2 months. You need to take it step by step and just build momentum. Build a Pong clone. Build an Asteroids clone. Make a Tetris clone. Make a Flappy Bird clone. Make something original that's maybe a hyper-casual mobile game. Make small stuff. And make a lot of small stuff. You don't even have to make games. I would highly recommend just replicating game mechanics from one of your favorite games. If you really like Stardew Valley, maybe copy the fishing minigame. Or if you really like a weapon or a cool shooting mechanic in an FPS, try and replicate it, but keep it to a small scope. Once you've done it, you can sit back, be happy, and just relax because you've finished something. Although it's not a game, it is a part of a game, and that just shows progress. And I know that completing anything is extremely difficult. So I would recommend participating in game jams. They are popular for a reason. A game jam is a competition where during a set amount of time, usually 48 or 72 hours, you make a video game from scratch. And these are incredibly fun. If you can, participate in person and don't come with your own team. Build one on site. This is an incredibly fun experience and you will learn a lot. But fair warning, you need some level of experience before you can participate in a game jam. People who participate in game jams, especially in person, are usually hobbyists or a lot of the times just full-time game developers. And if you don't have a lot of experience, be upfront about it. People are very accommodating at these events, and they will most likely happily drag you into the team and give you some appropriate tasks for your skill level. Game jams are a great opportunity for you to work in a team and get to finish a product. And if you have the opportunity to do it in person, you will get to see other people face to face play your video game. And a lot of people, even those of you watching this who've released video games, have never seen a stranger play your video game. And it's a very strange feeling, especially if they enjoy it. It's magical. It is an opportunity that you do not want to miss out on. The journey is going to be long, and I feel like I've rambled a bit. I'm going to go through this very quickly. Use Unity. Buy a programming book. I will link a few of my favorites in the description, and just get to making video games. Although this may seem obvious to some of you, some people just don't do it. They get analysis paralysis. They sit for months looking at comparisons and reviews of game engines. Just sit down, download Unity, and don't give a crap about all of the people talking shit. What you want to do is make video games, not make a decision about the best software in the world. So just don't do that. Ignore all of the haters and just learn. Learn as much as you can. This will take time, but don't give up. This is all I have to say. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope to play some of your guys' video games in the future. I'm sure they will turn out amazing. Bye.